at that point my concept was that I want to show this whole piece as a replication of.
There's also an added responsibility of telling a story in that. So it's not just going to be music and titles. It's not just going to be some visuals. That visual needs to set up Wasseypur. What is Wasseypur?
हमारी जिंदगी का एक के मकसद है बदला.
Hi, I am Vijesh Rajan. I am a motion designer, director, and co-founder of Plexus Motion.
Hi, I'm Yashoda Parthasarthi. I'm a director at Plexus Motion.
And you're watching us on India's VFX Revolution.
How did we get approached for PS1? Was actually Mani sir had seen the decoupled title sequence that we did for a Netflix show, and he had really liked how we had used CGI to say the narrative. And at that point, so we did our usual, we have to read the film or watch the film, and only then I'll be able to come up with a sequence, because whatever we create has to be very like cohesive to what the film is about. And they were like, this film is called Ponniyin Selvan, and we cannot give you any material except for this one PDF which states like a brief outline of what the film is about. And I got a 2-pager of the VO that Mani sir had written with his writer on like how we wanted the sequence to flow. Plexus had worked with Mani sir before. We had done the OK Kanmani title sequence, and also like OK Janu, which was co-produced by Madras Talkies. Immediately after watching the film, I met him in his office and he was like, so what do you think? And I was like, yeah, I just have to make the most epic sequence for the most epic movie that's gonna come out. No pressure, and we laughed it out. Idea of what the Chola Empire had done for the development of south of India. So I was like, I want to do this, and he was like, let's do this, let's go for it, but just keep in mind that this was the golden era of the Bronze Empire. So there needs to be a blend of both. It needs to look very happy, and that was his brief. He had liked the story and the narrative otherwise. Then we went back, like we came back to Bombay, and we were just like, let's get started.
அவளை மறக்கத்தான் என்னை மறக்கத்தான்
Ponniyin Selvan, it's like South India's Harry Potter. So everybody had a version of the characters in their head. That's the reason I didn't want to do anything that was very based out of the actors who were performing the characters from the film, and wanted to keep it a lot more general in terms of more accessible to all the fan following that PS already had.
அப்போது தஞ்சையை ஆண்ட சுந்தர சோழருக்கு 2 மகன்கள் ஒரு மகள் பட்டத்து இளவரசன்.
One of the second approaches that we arrived at that we needed to take was that we couldn't model these based on existing human proportion models, because the proportion in these sculptures were very off in a sense. So we had to then arrive at a base shape for all of the models. So we made like a male base shape and a female base shape, and then layered accessories and clothes and modeled headgear and jewels on top of those base models. So these were the challenges in terms of how we approach the modeling bit. In terms of texturing, when working with metals, it's very hard to use a lot of colors, because like unlike gold or silver, which works well with a lot of colors, and that's the reason why we have a lot of accessories made out of gold and silver. But bronze is a metal which has got a lot of deep and darker color in it. And we also went for a bronze look which had a little bit more gold. From Mani sir's perspective, this was the golden era of the Chola Empire. So we wanted to enunciate that with a little bit of gold added to the bronze texture. So if you see the opening sequence, the shot starts with a very bright, like almost like golden hour in the evening. And as soon as you reach the palace, the lighting changes dramatically to a very dark night, and this comet, the red light from the comet is like literally overshadowing and casting this very dark shadow over the entire village and the empire. And then when you go into the sequences within the mural and the other episodes that happened before from where the film starts, we made a lot of like shaft lighting so that there is enough of bright and shadow points available within the frame to sort of emphasize and enhance the textural richness of what we had created, but also give this mood of everything is great, but there is a very like deep, dark future ahead, possibly within the world of the storytelling. So the toughest project I've ever worked on till date has definitely been PS1. Mainly because when we started out on working the sequence, we had very little time. We had like 2 months to execute the entire project. We were exploring Unreal Engine for the first time after a while, because earlier we used to work with Unreal Engine only for like previews and stuff like that. But for this sequence, we wanted to do the final render on Unreal Engine. So the first sequence, like the opening shot of the sequence, was supposed to be just this travel through the palace and then go reach the mural and then go into the story of all the individual characters of the film. But because it was, when we showed the previews to him, and then we were also like getting more and more comfortable with working on the sequence, it just felt like this opening shot of the film, which is opening this magnum opus of Mani Ratnam and Madras Talkies and Leica Pictures.
सरदार खान नाम है हमारा, बता दीजिएगा सबको.
For Gangs of Wasseypur, my first meeting with Anurag Kashyap regarding this title sequence was very short. He said, I want to make a really cool title sequence, but there's also an added responsibility of telling a story in that. So it's not just going to be music and titles. It's not just going to be some visuals. That visual needs to set up Wasseypur. What is Wasseypur? Who are the people? What are the different sects and what are the different kind of clashes that are happening between them? He always goes like, I know you'll do something cool, so I'm going to leave you to it. I don't have like a visual brief. I don't want to give you references. You come up with whatever you want. And I don't want you to even show me references. I want you to just start working on it. Because the film is set over so many decades and we have to set up the rivalry between the gangs, it has to have like an archival treatment. Avnish at Pixian showed me a method in which we could actually make the footage look archival, and then he did like a very complicated procedure on Flame, I think at that time, where he was using actual 16mm archival old reels that were just scanned. There was no footage on it, but it had gone bad. So it was like having these weird judders, and it was like very noisy, and it was like, you know, shaking and stuff like that. And he would take the footage from Gangs of Wasseypur, and then he would kind of track it to that old stock footage, you know, so it would move the same way, and then he would just do weird blending modes so that it would dissolve and it would have these overlays and stuff like that. But we were working with the text on Photoshop, and it was digital and it looked very clean when we overlaid it, and I was like, there needs to be one layer of dirt to it. So then Gagan and me spent like almost 3 or 4 days printing out all the titles. Like actually, like we took printouts of all the titles on A4 paper, and then we were like walking and like scraping it against the ground, or like pouring coffee on it, or like literally destroying it in some way or the other so that it looked smudged, it looked torn, it had like visible scratches on it. And then we would wait for it to like dry up and then like scan it again. And then when we took it to Avni, she was like, Baba, this is great. How did you do this? And I was like, don't ask. I really got my hands dirty on that one.
हमारी जिंदगी का एक ही मकसद है, बदला.
I think the voiceover and the music changed the entire tone of the title sequence. If it was just, I think the voiceover changed it the most. Even just having the music made it dramatic, but the voiceover telling the story, and then us choosing those specific visuals that kind of represented what was happening in the story, made a world of a difference. And I felt like, I feel this on every title sequence I work on. The music just adds another layer only of greatness to it. I'm a huge fan of title sequences, and I get excited because I love animation and I love, storytelling like that. When you see the name, when you hear the music, when you see the colors and stuff like that, it just sort of like brings something in you that makes you feel excited about something. Thank you for watching us on India's VFX Revolution.
Please do like, share and subscribe to IGN India.